Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons breakdown with myself and Mike today. This is an interesting one. Obviously, Sloth isn't on the video, but it's a player he really likes as well. And we're now being linked with another championship talent, which is Jaden Philogene, who, he's been fantastic for Hull City last season in the championship. Very creative player, very dynamic and flary player. And just a really interesting link to have, especially with the championship talent that is available, Mike. You know, there's so much out there right now. Just as an overview for everyone kind of watching, Jaden Philogene-Bidace is his full name. Currently plays for Hull, 22 years old. Main position is out on the left, can also play out on the right. Right-footed, but again, also very good on his left foot as well. Market value of 15 million euros, although it's probably going to cost a little bit more to get the deal over the line for that. Around 5'9" and nationality of English. So what do you make of the rumour to kind of Philogene, Mike, so far? Because, you know, we are trying to diversify the links we're going for. It looks like we're trying to get some, you know, really solid players, but also some of these kind of exciting, not risks, but slightly more risky transfers. And I think Philogene kind of falls into that just because of his lack of Premier League experience so far. So, what do you make of the link to Philogene?
Personally, I don't see it as a risk. You know, when you consider, you know, Mikel Antonio, Jared Bowen, Aaron Cresswell, this goes on when we talk about West Ham players that were brought through, and also what we've seen with other players. You know, Villa in January did really well with bringing in Rodgers from Middlesbrough, who had no prior experience. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a risk. You know, I think most people would look at it as a risk if it's someone's coming in as a starter, because maybe there are loftier expectations. And we looked at least 22 years old. However, this is a very good 22-year-old player who, by and large, was one of the best players in the championship last year. And with our success from the championship, I think this is a very good deal. And if we even hark back to what Lopetegui said, I think he said it with us or said it with Wolves, it probably was with Wolves, but he even mentioned about the championship having some very good players within there and players that obviously he liked. And bearing in mind his background was in scouting prior to moving to a manager, it's clearly someone who still has that eye for a player as such and wants to look at other leagues. Is not just kind of concentrating on the top five leagues, because that gives you a very limited pool in which to work with, and also in some cases an inflated market as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, with Philogene, obviously he's been very good this season for Hull in the championship. As you say, you know, there's definitely talent to be identified in other leagues outside the top five, kind of established European leagues. And, you know, Philogene's kind of fallen into that category. We're kind of calling out for a left winger, aren't we, right now? We've been linked with a lot of right wingers. You know, we've obviously signed Gil Herme. We've got Kudus Bowen out on that side. But it's the other side which we're lacking, and it's kind of been neglected for a little bit. Obviously, Ben Rama was kind of signed to be that person. Hasn't really worked out. Cornet as well isn't a name that's going to play out on that left wing. So in terms of Philogene, he would kind of fit the mold of being that kind of natural left winger. And, you know, when we take a look at his kind of shooting stats to start with, you can see there he's kind of in the high percentile for goals and kind of shots taken, shots on target. So he's someone that's going to want to score goals. And I think that's what we need from that front line now. You know, we've got obviously Bowen providing the goals. We've got Kudus, but I feel like there was an over-reliance last season on them to kind of carry the team. So we need to diversify that portfolio a little bit. In terms of Philogene's kind of main qualities, Mike, what would you say, you know, for people who aren't that currently aware of Philogene's play style, what would you say his biggest strengths are?
Incredibly quick, not just in terms of his pace, but also in how, you know, his feet has the most ridiculous kind of turning kind of radius and balance. Willing to take on fullback. In fact, his main kind of raison d'etre. Yeah. He likes to get the ball, likes to commit a defender. Fantastic getting out of tight spaces. Superb on either foot, which is something you rarely see. He can hit it as hard or as good with his left foot as he does his right, and he's predominantly right-footed. And as I say, incredibly skillful. Good pace, good shooting, good movement, good intelligence. All round a really good player. And if another player that we're looking at is Somerville, for instance. Now, he hasn't scored as many goals as Somerville. However, he's very similar playing style to Somerville, but far cheaper, and arguably a player that can be developed into something more. It's not someone who's had Premier League experience like Somerville, for instance. However, this is a player that has maybe gone the longer route by being in the Championship and going out on loan previously from Villa. I think he went on loan from Villa to Cardiff and then moved to Hull after a loan spell. And this is a player that is taking more of the time to develop, but I think he's a really exciting player to watch. If you watch clips of him, he is almost a walking highlight reel. That's kind of how parts of his season have been, because he is exciting and he'll play that get West Ham off his feet. And I think there was a point made to us by Robbie, who who kind of helped us out with when we were talking about Ruben Amorim, about where the Mavericks gone in football. There's basically no Mavericks anymore. This is a player you consider as a Maverick, has that not same level, obviously, as yet, but at the Canio-esque aspect of give me the ball, I will take the ball, I will try and beat a player. If I beat him once, that's fine, but I'll go and beat him again as well, just because I can. Has that kind of quality about him. And the fact that he can take someone on the inside and the outside, because both feet are so good, makes him a persistent threat as well. And it's something that I think would go very well in the Premier League, and someone that I think we would adore as a player for us.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, as you said there, just watch his highlights and you'll know the type of player he is. He's fantastic with his feet. And as you say, both footed is such a big thing for me. I love players that could, use both feet, because it's such a massive asset to have, especially as a winger. And, he will look to come inside, but he can also go outside, which is a massive plus. And yeah, as you mentioned, maybe not as prolific as Somerville this season, but still 12 goals and 6 assists in the championship last season in 32 appearances. It's pretty good going. It's a very good return. It's a goal or assist, every other game, just under every other game. So
and he quite massively overachieved, really. He's
he's
only meant to, if you go by XG, really, he should have only really had 8 goals. And in terms from an assist point of view, he's probably round about where he should have been. But the fact that he's scoring goals that are not necessarily very high kind of value in terms of XG. It's great.
One of them was a Rabona, wasn't it? I think.
I think it took a slight deflection off the Bristol player, but however, it is the invention to try it is something that you have to again kind of sit there slightly in awe as to someone to have. I guess in some ways you say at the confidence, but I also look at it, but I look at it in a good way, the arrogance to think, I can do this.
It's like quiet, wasn't it, when he got that assist for Antonio when he did the Rabona in the second season he was with us.
Yeah, we won't talk about the rest of that game. But that moment, that first about 10, 15 minutes, it was some scintillating stuff, and then brilliant Rabona from Payet for David.
Yeah, exactly. Those types of players, man, it's what you want to, like you say, the kind of traditional, he's not number 10, but those style of players, it's dying out, man. It's become such a systemized, approach, especially in the Premier League. But one thing I also want to touch on with Philogene is his defensive contribution as well, because that's what surprised me when kind of looking into the statistics and, looking at what he has produced for Hull. If we just bring up his, there we go, his defensive statistics. I mean, you can see here when you're comparing him to other kind of attacking midfielders and wingers in not the top 5 leagues, the kind of next 14, but you can see there, he's someone that's going to get stuck in, 2.5 tackles per game, winning 1.54 of them. You can see he's someone that isn't just the flair, but he also has the industrial side as well, which is probably what someone like David Moyes would have wanted. But he's going to be it's a fantastic player to have, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, there's aspects of it of what we wanted in Ben Rama and what they tried to instill in Ben Rama from a defensive point of view. But again, I think this also comes from a player that's had to fight for his chance to be where he got to last year. And it shows that he's a player willing to put in the hard yards as well. He understands that whilst he is incredibly important going forward, and that he is someone that could be also, kind of what a team is built around in some respects, but he has to work hard. And I think that's a great thing that Liam Rosina did last year. He had that whole team work incredibly hard. That was a team that, bear in mind, was not meant to be part of the promotion kind of push or the playoff. That they were just meant to be a mid-table team. And then Liam Rosina took him to another level, and he pushed players like Philogene-Bidace to a place where they were working incredibly hard off the ball and working so hard for their teammates, which also meant that they also got reaped the rewards when they went forward as well. Because, you know, when players work so hard for their teammates, they'll do the opposite as well, going in the other way. They'll make those unselfish runs, you know, in those overlaps to create that space for them and so on, and always be looking to get close to them, because it's my mate's always helping me out. I need to go help him out. And I think that's the player that puts in that much effort is fantastic. And I know we get worried when we see a left winger putting in that much defensive kind of display, because it takes us back to, you know, the war times of Felipe Anderson, where he was almost playing left back. But it's not as bad as that. He's just a player that has an incredible work rate and looks to push and press the opposition to win the ball back, and not just in defensive play kind of areas like, you know, our defensive third, but looking to kind of press high as well and to, you know, get a turnover.
Yeah, exactly. There's the balance, isn't there, of tracking back, but also defending from the front, which is the main philosophy that I'm assuming Lopetegui is going to want to implement based on the analysis we've done of him so far. But yeah, as you mentioned, you know, Philogene-Bidace has been really exciting, and as you kind of alluded to already, you know, he's someone that's obviously still only 22. He's going to develop. These are kind of his goal and shot creations. So you can kind of see the type of things where he's creating those actions from, and you know, you can see there almost in the 96th percentile there for take-ons, for shots, for fouls drawn, and also defensive actions as well. So it's a really nice blend there.
I think that's the most impressive thing, is that you look at the shooting, kind of essentially the shooting creating actions from a defensive action is in the 97th percentile.
Yeah.
From a goal creating action, again, a defensive action that he's done, he is in the 96th, I think it was, percentile. Yeah. Essentially, whenever it comes to creating a goal, creating a shooting opportunity, whether it's defensive or an attacking action, such as taking a player on, it's within the 90th percentile or above.
Yeah.
It's an insane kind of level to have, really. And to be doing that, just again, it may not be to the same height in the Premier League, but even if that was 10-15% less, that's a huge kind of benefit to a Premier League club to have someone who can do that. And that 15% is a big drop off, but also 15% considering what he's already doing is in the 90th percentile, means that he's still going to be well above average, and in about the 70th percentile. So it's mental, really, that is a player that probably is not getting enough attention from the Premier League. And it slightly boggles me, really.
I think it's just because, like we say, the number of talent kind of available in the Championship this season has been, you know, you've got people looking automatically at the likes of Leeds, the likes of Somerville, and these types of, you know, as you mentioned, Hull City were never really supposed to be up there, so they're kind of going under the radar a bit. And we're no stranger to a winger from Hull. So I think as well, you know, just alluding to kind of his strengths there, you can kind of see the type of player he is. You know, take-ons attempted almost 6 per game. Successful when 2.79 of those. You can see that the carry distance, the progressive carry distance, the carries into the final third, the carries into the penalty area. So he's someone that's going to get the ball. He's going to look to drive at defenses, and he's going to look to make things happen. And as you say, he's got a really, you know, fast turn of pace. He's not, I wouldn't say he's kind of blistering over 80 yards, but that short acceleration, and as you say, that technical ability is such a massive thing. So I think for a player that's 22 years old, this is all really good. There's obviously stuff to his game where he'll need to improve. As you see here, kind of the passing statistics don't look amazing to the eye, but again, it's not really his game. He's more of a direct attacking winger. He's not really that kind of creative winger, but you know, that will come with time. I think he'll want to develop.
Some of that you need to take with a slight pinch of salt as well, because the statistics show, you know, things like completions, etc. But what it doesn't also account for is what type of pass he's trying to make in terms of, you know, the percentage that it can actually go through, because he does make high risk passes and trying to make plays. So he is going to turn the ball over when we're kind of looking at you know, some of the short passing in and around the area. The ball is going to get kind of turned over, and it isn't within his game to be kind of making progressive passes, you know, passing over 20-30 yards and so on, and developing play that way, because he's about receiving the ball to feet and carrying it and then making those short, intricate, you know, kind of little plays. So the passing one shows an area where there can be improvement, but it also maybe he doesn't highlight the other aspects of his game that are probably contributing to that being low. And you sometimes would go, well, actually, I can accept some of those being a lower piece, because if he's making kind of high risk passes, a bit like with Paqueta, it can be frustrating when they give the ball away. However, when they make that pass and they're doing pass 4 times in a game, it doesn't go through, but that one time it does, it creates a shot or a goal.
Yeah,
you kind of sit back and go, slightly, it's forgiven. You kind of have to,
exactly.
Sometimes accept that as not as a failing within their game, but you have to accept that as part of their game, because if you take that away, you're arguably going to lose why you bought the player, because
it's putting the safety on, isn't it? And you kind of taking away that want to be creative. But yeah, I think he obviously needs to, there's a stuff he can improve on with the ball in terms of the creativity side. But again, it's not really the type of winger he is. He's more of that, like you say, the direct winger who will press from the front, will make things happen through his own technical ability, and he'll look to score goals. So for a 22-year-old Mike, who's had a really, really solid season, obviously, as you mentioned, came through kind of the Aston Villa youth ranks and is now playing some really good football. His estimated market value is around 15 million euros. I feel like it might take a little bit more to get that done, probably between 20 and 25. So if we were to make this deal happen for around that value, what would you give this transfer out of 10?
I think it'll cost us about 20. I don't know if it'll cost us 25. But I think it's a really solid deal. I would say, it's about 7 to 8 as a deal. I don't think it'll be more than 20. If it is, then I'm starting to go, it's definitely like a 7, because I think you're then going into the realms of 5 million more, 10 million more is maybe Somerville money.
Do you think he'd be brought in to be a starter?
No, I don't. But I have a sneaky suspicion, as although Lewis Gilham has been talked about as project player and so on, I do get the feeling that maybe we are looking at Gilham as a left winger, and Philogene-Bidace would be a player brought in to support him in that role as well, and it'll be alternating between the two. So we have 2 younger mavericks, so to speak, for lack of a better term, on that left-hand side, and it allows us to move Mo centrally, and it allows us to then put Bowen on the right. So I don't see him as a starter as yet, but that's not to say that it's not something that he would develop into.
I think it's when we signed Bowen as well, and it was kind of like you have to make you push your way into the squad, don't you? And I think just because we have that lack of attacking left wingers right now, there's not really anyone he's up against. So I think it would depend if we did sign another left winger. I think that would be quite telling that he's probably going to play second string. But yeah, I agree. I think this could be around an 8 out of 10 if we can get it done for 20 million. Really exciting player in a position we desperately need to improve on. We can probably offset some of that cost with the likes of Cornet, Ben Rama as well. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think of the link to Philogene-Bidace. Is it a player that excites you? Would you like to see him at West Ham this summer? Let us know. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the breakdown. And Mike, until next time, come on, you irons.